Hey, what's up everyone? Back here with another comic book review. We've got a special one for you today. This is Thanos Quest, Marvel Tales Thanos Quest. Really, it is a collection of the two-part series, two graphic novels of the Thanos Quest story from 1990. It is a precursor to the Infinity Gauntlet story. Infinity Gauntlet is the best. So this is going to be me starting a series following Jim Starlin's work, writing all the Thanos Infinity Gem stories going forward. Really great stuff. I'm excited. So I've always wanted to read Thanos Quest, but they're really hard to find, very rare and collectible, and I wasn't willing to pay for the fatty Silver Surfer trade, I think, that collected them inside of it. So I was very blessed that Marvel decided to print this out with both issues in it. So I didn't even count the amount of story pages in here. It's $8, well worth it for this much story. So this is going to be a spoiler review. I'm already recommending this, especially to all my friends who have already talked into reading the comic of Infinity Gauntlet. It's great stuff. This leads up to it. It's really great. If you just watch the movies, then I'm going to clear some stuff up for you right now. They're not called Infinity Stones, they're Infinity Gems. And also, the movies change up the colors and what they mean, but there are other things. Like, for instance, the blue gem is... in the comic, that is the mind gem, not the space gem, like the movie told you. They also didn't end up being other Marvel-related items, like the Cosmic Cube and the Eye of Agamotto. They're just the gems, and Thanos acquires them in a completely different way than he did in Avengers Infinity War. He did it through more of acts of cunning, and I'm going to go more into the story. So this is written by Jim Starlin. Jim Starlin, one of the best writers ever. I love his writing. Great writer. Art by Ron Lim, equally great artist. He works with Jim Starlin a lot on these comics. He did half of Infinity Gauntlet, and this is him at his artistic best. It is great stuff. And for this cover here, just for this comic, republishing these stories, really good cover by Joshua Swaby. But yeah, that was a really good cover. Very menacing looking. And pretty good opening bit by Ralph Macchio, just recapping all this stuff that, yeah, Thanos first appeared in an issue of Iron Man that Jim Starlin wrote, and then, he collected the Infinity Gems, or at the time, they were the Soul Gems. He collected all 6 Soul Gems, and then was thwarted, I think, in an annual issue of Marvel Toon-One or something. And then Jim Starlin brought him back when he was writing Silver Surfer here in this series, and Thanos faked his death and eluded the Surfer, and it picks up from there. So Thanos is working with Death, or for Death. He's in her servitude, and I'm going to get more into that. So here's the cover. There's the cover. It was a double fold-out cover, so there's the back cover here. So pretty much also, so in book 1, he's going to obtain 3 of the gems, then in book 2, he's going to obtain the other 3. He gets all the gems from the Elders of the Universe. In the movies, we only encounter the Collector in Guardians of the Galaxy and the Grand Master in Thor Ragnarok. But there's more Elders of the Universe than that, and they are the ones in possession of the Infinity Gems. So getting into this, in this cover too, we see the Gardener and the Champion. You see Death in the background. Really good stuff. The subtitle for this book 1 is Schemes and Dreams. Very fitting title. Really love this opening shot. Very cosmic. I love this first page splash of Thanos just looking like a boss there floating in space. And then here is the story. It opens with him in Death's servitude. He's not dead himself, but he is at where Death pretty much hangs out at. And so in her possession is the Infinity Well. So he's the first living being, I think, to hang out at the Infinity Well, and he's just staring into it, sucking up all of its knowledge, learning things. So Death has given him the task of killing half the universe, much like the movies. He's not as benevolent as he is in the movies. He's still out to kill half the universe, but not because he's trying to balance things. It's because he loves Death. Literally, he's in love with Death. Death is a woman in the Marvel Universe, and he is such an evil, sadistic, crazy person that he is in love with Death, and to serve her, he's going to kill half of the universe's population to please her. Also, that is what she wants, because she likes it when people dies. And but he is also after his own goals. He is after galactic conquest as well. So he's staring into the Infinity Well, and it's telling him everything he needs to know. It's telling him who has the Infinity Gems, what they can do, and how to beat the Elders and take the gems for himself. And so this rat creature comes up and he's like, "Hey, why aren't you doing the thing?" the killing half the universe that Death told you to do, and he says, because I gaze into the depths of wisdom, such knowledge is required to serve Death properly. So he's pretty much using this new mission he's assigning himself as kind of a front to like, yeah, but it's to help my conquest to serve Death. So very underhanded, and he has also said here, need I remind my mistress that even in my first incarnation I served her loyally. No other has ever been so faithful. It's Thanos, he kills a lot. And so then he tells her the plan, like, hey, if I'm going to kill half the universe for you, I can't do it without the 6 soul gems. And Death's lackey over here says, hey, you did that before, you did it once. And he said, yes, a goal I failed to realize. But at the time I did not perceive the true nature of these gems. I utilized them as a hammer, when in reality they are a surgeon's scalpel. And so he's like, well, you grant me the ability to travel the cosmos and carry out this task. And there's this panel of silence, and he's like, hey, by the way, the first elder I'm going after is the In-Betweener. And Death makes this face, and then they're like, yeah, I guess in some previous comic the In-Betweener foiled Death somehow. So they're like, okay, yeah, you can do it. And so they serve up this cosmic chair, and then he gets on it and allows him to travel through the cosmos. So he's got to travel to a certain place because the In-Betweener is currently being held captive by chaos and order. This is going to be very heady. It gets very dense with all this cosmic godhood and all that stuff, because this is some big stuff pertaining to the Infinity Gems, or the Soul Gems right now, and the fabric of reality and whatnot. So really cool images, really fantastic Ron Lim art. I was told that this kind of looks weird because they used different paper back in the days when they originally published the story for these kind of prestige format graphic novels, and it's just kind of printed on what Marvel Comics uses regularly now. So the colors look different, a little flatter. Comment below, tell me if that's true, because I've never, I've seen this one before. I didn't thumb through, I didn't get to pluck it off whatever shelf it was on and thumb through it to see what it looked like. So please comment below, tell me if these colors look a little weird. But anyway, images are really cool, flying through space, going to where he's going is kind of messing up reality over and over. He's melting here, he's shattering like glass over here. Really good stuff. Travels over here to the nexus of reality. And I'm going to read his thought bubbles as he narrates this story. He says, the nexus of reality, from here springs all that is. It is the fulcrum of existence. It is the meeting place of dichotomies. It is the shared realm of chaos and order. Of course, the In-Betweener's prison rests between the polarities of actuality. And so here's the In-Betweener being held in some force field. Thanos just very easily uses his chair to dispatch the demonic-looking guards of this prison. And he serves up this spiel, like, In-Betweener recognizes him. He's like, yeah, he's Thanos, you're going to break me loose? Like, yeah, you're not known for your generosity. What do you want in return? And so Thanos says, I am currently a thrall of Mistress Death, a position I chafe in, but one does not leave her service easily. It's pretty much, I'll bust you out. And he's like, yeah, someone capable of staying Death's vengeful hand. So I'd rather help you and you prevent Death from killing me. Of course, this is just a ruse. Then the In-Betweener agrees to it, but obviously is already planning to betray Thanos as soon as he's free, because he does need his power to destroy his prison. This is a good example of the art telling the story. So they use their combined might, the In-Betweener using all sorts of cosmic spells, even his soul gem, which is in his forehead. Thanos is just on the outside blasting the whole thing. Thanos is still souped up. He's from Titan, sure, but not everyone from Titan is like this. He's been powered up by, whatever he could get his hands on, cosmic sciences and magics and everything else. So he's shooting his giant beam at it, cracks the shield, and then they succeed and it breaks. The In-Betweener is free, and then, but very quickly, Thanos just bitch slaps the In-Betweener, and that already took him out in one hit. And he said he reveals that all he wanted was the gem, just plucks it off of his head, and then he says that chaos and order, of course they had no way of knowing that I'd come to your aid, and that they would not be able to sense my presence. You see, I am one of those odd beings who is outside of Destiny's usual realm of influence. Chaos and order have no power over me. and so cannot detect my comings and goings. And so then he teleports away on his teleporter chair, but Chaos and Order, the embodiment of Chaos and Order, appear to imprison him again, and Thanos leaves, telling him that it'll be an even worse, more impossible prison to escape in. They're still at the in the nexus of realities. So right there, he just totally outsmarted and betrayed the In-Betweener, and he reminisces a bit about how this is the first gem, the green gem, and the comic is the soul gem. And he's encountered Adam Warlock before, Adam Warlock, who Jim Starlin took and adopted and made his own, and wrote him very much like a cosmic space Jesus, and he always had this, the soul gem, in his forehead. So he kind of reminisces about that, and that this soul gem is the first of the soul gems that he is collecting. Right here, Death and the lackey show up and says, do you truly chafe within Death's service? And you get this one panel of Thanos just looking frustrated. He's being put on the spot, and I love that we're already really in tune with his goals and what he's thinking. But he's also very angry at the accusation. He says, surely my mistress recognizes a ploy when she sees one. How can she ask such a question of me? How many times must I pledge and prove my love and loyalty to you? And so they go away, and then he's thinking, so she's keeping it on me. I gotta play this close to the chest now that I know that she is watching me this entire time. So now he travels to this planet. Here, he is going to fight the Champion, another Elder who pretty much set up shop here on this warring planet just because he lives to fight. He lives to just fight, and he keeps flipping sides so that he can continue fighting. He's actually very huge. He's punching through these guys. This guy's fist is like the size of that guy's whole body. So he shows up and he just toys with them. He challenges him to a fight. This guy's incredibly powerful. He's got the red gem in his forehead. That's the gem of power. So he's even more powerful. Much like the In-Betweener, he doesn't even know the full potential of the gem he has in his head. In fact, Thanos says that that the Champion believes he's this powerful on his own. He keeps the gem on his forehead for good luck, really. So he's kind of in his subconscious drawing power from this gem. And so really good art, really good action scene. You know, Champion takes a swing, Thanos ducks it and pulls on his hair and just socks him in the jaw. You know, jumps out of the way and lets Champion run into a cliff wall. You know, all that good stuff. Blasts him with his giant lasers. I love this bit right here where Thanos is just shooting him. You get these panels of Thanos blasting away at him this whole time, and you see the Champion just slowly walking his way toward Thanos. And as he's taking these steps, you can see the dirt. You can see the dirt behind his feet. You know there's a lot of force and power behind these beams. Probably getting more intense and powerful. He's getting closer to Thanos, and at the very last step, Thanos stops blasting him, catching the Champion off guard, so he lunges forward, and then it just punches him in the face. All that strength for nothing. Even runs into his invisible barrier that his chair put up, and Champion's getting pissed. He keeps punching the barrier. He'll probably break it soon, and Thanos has this thought bubble here where he says his strength seems to grow in direct proportion to his anger. In many ways, I assume this is what it would be like battling the Terran behemoth, the Hulk, a conflict I've sought to avoid over the years. So I really love that, especially because in the beginning of Avengers Infinity War, which I love that movie, but I hated what they did with the Hulk, how they really punked the Hulk to make Thanos look cool. But I like that bit in here. And then here at the very end, Champion just gets super pissed. He's very arrogant. He refers to himself in third person. He just super leaps into the sky. And he's coming back down with all of his might, lunging toward the earth, and he's just going to punch Thanos with all of his power. And at the very last second, Thanos uses his chair to teleport him away. And Champion's like, huh? And then right there, he just hits the planet, and the whole thing just goes to shit. And the planet explodes. He blew up the whole planet. That's how hard he hit it. That is so ridiculous, so goofy, and I love it. It is horrible what happened to the planet, but you know, Champion is sadistic. And then even with the planet just floating there in space like Alderaan, blown to bits, he's like, haha, I won. Yeah, I beat him. I did it. Then Thanos he floats in on his chair. And it's like, yeah, you did it. And he's just like, yeah, looks like now you don't have a planet now, and you're stranded here floating in outer space. And Champion, who's a total idiot, he looks around. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'll battle you for your vessel. He's like, why would I do that? He's like, for honor, for combat. And he's like, no. But I'll take you to another planet if you give me the gem in your forehead. And he says, that's my price. And he's like, my gem? He's like, no way. And he says, forget it. Sooner or later, someone will come along and find me. And Thanos says, and they'll probably remember what an egotistical monster you were and leave you. And so the Champion realizes that he's right, takes off the gem, and gives it to Thanos. But Thanos is a man of his word. Tractor beams him in, and then just lets him go and lets him float down to another planet. Uses the gravity to pull him in, and he's probably going to start rocketing toward the surface and die. And he's an elder of the universe, sure, but Thanos is questioning like his immortality. Says there's limits to even immortality. And just kind of that classic, like, yeah, I told you I'd take you to another planet, but I didn't say I was going to drop you off nice and sound. It's a total dick move. And right here, very important part where he says, after all, he did provide me with a great deal of amusement and the second soul gem. But then again, seeing as how only the first jewel has control over the soul, a better name for them might be the Infinity Gems. And now the two of them are mine, the soul gem and the gem of power. And so right there, that is when Thanos renamed the gems. I actually didn't know that until I read this. He named them the Infinity Gems. That's really cool. So in even another way, the gems are more Thanos's than anyone else's. And the fact that he is even the one to rename them from the soul gems to the Infinity Gems. I just love that. And then here he says, the latter jewel will come in very handy during my next encounter. And so I like that bit too, because it's kind of like the Mega Man games, the old Mega Man games, where you beat one boss and take his power, and it'll help you and be super effective to one of the other bosses. It'll be a more effective power to take down one of the next guys. And so with that concept, the next and final Elder of Book 1 is the Gardener. Now the Gardener is really cool, and he really should have been in place of Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 2. I just rewatched that movie, and it's like, yeah, it's the Gardener. He even looks like Kurt Russell from that movie, especially because in that movie, Kurt Russell was just gardening extensions of himself throughout other planets, so he just should have been the Gardener. I don't know why they made him Ego, the living planet. It would have been much better as the Gardener. That would have been so cool. And anyway, this is where he comes to Gardener and has a completely different approach to obtaining the gem that he wears in his head. He's got, what is that, the orange one? Orange or yellow? Whatever, it's the time gem. It's in his head. He says that the Gardener actually used to be a person, that he actually just wanted to pursue creating the perfect garden, and that led him to, in search of an Infinity Gem, to do it. And but that took him down the path of meeting the Elders of the Universe and becoming one of the Elders. And who just pursue power, but then since then he broke off from the Elders. So that's very unique that it actually goes into his backstory so much that he used to be a person and he became one of the Elders of the Universe. It's very interesting to me. So Thanos comes over here, doesn't fight him, they just talk, and it's very raw, very genuine stuff. He says it. He compliments his garden, like he really loves it, and he says, "A truly marvelous garden it is." Strange words coming from Thanos of Titan. He says, "Let me assure you, Gardener, that despite my love for death, I can still appreciate beauty and respect those who create it." So then they take a walk through the garden, and they're exchanging really good dialogue. Jim Starlin is a master at this stuff. I can't say enough good words about it. And Thanos says, "I've wondered why you no longer run with the Elders, Gardener." He says, "I have no need to. Their goal was always was the acquisition of power and yet more power. All I ever truly craved was the peace of my garden." "Then why did you ever take up with that crowd in the first place?" He said, "We shared one common objective, the soul gems. I possessed one years ago, and my garden never bloomed so magnificently. I was determined to regain this prize, even if it meant dealing with the likes of the Elders." So very different kind of elder he's dealing with now. They're exchanging words, and they sit down at this bench. There's this panel of them just looking across from each other, and then Thanos leans forward and gets down to the nitty-gritty, gets down to business. He says, of course you know why I am here. He says, for my soul gem. He says, I need it to further my own dreams. And these dreams are more important than my garden. Thanos says, yes, my goals must override all others. My love for death cannot be denied. And so Gardner pretty much says, okay, but you realize I can't give it up without a fight. He's like, please, we don't have to fight, and I'm not going to stop. And Gardner pretty much says, yeah, you even have 2 gems, so he can sense that he's got 2 gems, which makes you a truly unbeatable foe. But I too must be true to my own desires and needs. And he says, I have no wish to harm you, Gardner. And he says, nor I you, but our dreams are at odds. And I thought that was very powerful, that these 2 incredibly powerful beings, one of them is Thanos, who up to this point seems like he is always ready to kill something. He doesn't want to harm Gardner. He has such a respect for him. But then turning the page, and then you start seeing the gardener use his garden to kind of make vines and branches start encompassing Thanos, suffocating him, strangling him, maybe tearing him apart. Then Thanos just breaks through it like nothing, and he has this stuff to say. He says, you have no idea what rests on your brow. The infinity gems come from before all recorded time. I believe they might even be the cornerstones of all reality. This is stuff that only Thanos knows, because he's the one who stared into the infinity well and learned all this knowledge. He says, with them all, facets of actuality can be controlled. Warlock's gem is the key to the souls of all sentient beings. Champion's jewel backs all the other gems with infinite power. It is the foundation of the galactic dynasty I envision, and your gem will give me the gift of time. It says here, you didn't consciously realize that was your jewel's secret weapon property. With it, the streams of time can be reconstructed as easily as a child builds a sandcastle. That's how you created your wondrous garden. Your plants grew so rapidly because you raced them through their growth cycles. And they bloomed eternally because you froze the moment they reached the zenith of their beauty, botanical splendor never before achieved. Unfortunately, without the gem's aid, the garden's beauty won't last. For that I am truly sorry, and I hope that you will understand my regret, even though you can no longer hear my words. You go to the next page, and the gardener is already dead. Very horrifying image, especially with the very calming, very kind of the feeling of being in the garden and seeing the man who created that garden there. It's got vines and branches growing out of his very fingertips. One out of his toe, you can see the roots under his skin. Lots of branches coming out of his ears and other extremities. His mouth. I'm just like, oh man, that's gross. That's a pretty bad fate. And ironically, he did not kill the in-betweener and the champion. He gave them what you could say is fate's worse than death. But there's something incredibly eerie about Thanos, who did not want to fight this elder, who even gave him a chance to back out, and this is the one who did end up killing. He explains how he defeated him, and he said, I used the gem of power to augment your jewel's plant growing abilities to levels you never dreamt of, to levels beyond your control. I admittedly feel a certain amount of shame in turning your greatest gift into the instrument of your destruction. So even he feels pretty rotten that he did him dirty like that. And he says right here that he feels really bad, even though he doesn't believe he should feel bad. He gave him a chance to back out and surrender his gem, and that he forced his hand, but he still feels bad anyway. Sits on his chair to leave. He says, I'm Thanos. Got the classic Thanos evil grin right there. That is the end. Here you get the same image at the beginning of the story, except now he's got 3 gems by the end of the story. So really good stuff. That's the end of the issue. Those the part 2 that I'll do next time. And I just really loved, I was really loving the whole story, and then especially with that ending encounter with the gardener. Very powerful, and it makes Thanos even more scary and menacing and dangerous to know that he has reached a point of such sheer and utter sincerity with the gardener, and he still he still killed him, and he killed him to reach his goals, because he's Thanos and nothing's going to stop him. And just loads of characters, loads of layers, stuff that I really love. Jim Starlin is one of those writers that I believe should be treated like absolute royalty over there at Marvel. Unfortunately, he doesn't get his due, and that really bothers me. And man, he's such a great writer. His dialogue, his thoughts are amazing. The way he layers the characters is great. And so if you're a Thanos fan, this is a must-have. This is a must-have for any comic collection. I recommend this to everyone. This is great stuff, very, very beautiful storytelling, I might say. So highest recommendations. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss me review part 2, and then the subsequent other Jim Starlin books going forward with this Infinity Gauntlet type stories. And comment below, tell me what you think of this story, tell me what you think of Thanos, and yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.